Hi there. Well, we've come out into Bolton and we're going to be visiting Bolton Mart. We're going to have a quick chat and interview with Phil, the owner. So without further ado, let's go in and see how things go.
Sorting with the records and so on, and doing my mobiles as well.
Yeah.
And towards the end, I did a couple of residencies in restaurants. I did it between 1975 and the end of '81 when I finally.
Oh right, so you were doing that as well as when you started running this business?
Yes, there was doing both, and it was quite hard work for a while because in December, especially 1979, I shan't forget it. Out gigging, if you like, 2, 3, sometimes 4 nights a week, and running the shop on my own in those days because it wasn't that busy. But eventually the shop got so busy I couldn't do both. This year we celebrate 40 years in November.
40?
This is our 4th shop in 40 years, so we must be doing something right.
Right, so they just all been dotted around in the centre of Bolton?
Well, 3 of them in Bolton, yes, but to begin with we didn't start in Bolton. We were up in the Lake District.
Oh, right.
Because it was a family business and we had another business up there. And we started off there, but then we moved to Bolton in 1979.
Gosh, right. So, and going strong ever since?
Yes, we've had our ups and downs, but we're still here to tell the tale.
Brilliant. And how would you say things have changed in all that time?
Oh, big changes. The model railways have been up and down over the years. They seem to be going through another resurgence at the moment. And of course, technology's made a difference as with the internet and things like that. So it's all pretty positive.
Right, so do you do a lot of stuff with internet sales?
Yeah, about half the business is on the internet nowadays.
Right. So presumably that's made things in many ways a lot more interesting because you can have a much greater throughput than you...
Well, that's right, yeah, because less people come in the shop than they used to. We've had to make investments in technology with computers and barcodes and things like that to help us with selling on the net.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously there's some of the big players in the market have gone very much to the internet. So are we going to see you as big as Hatton's or Rails as Sheffield in no time at all?
I don't think so. They've been going even longer than we have, so they're very well established.
How would you say that Bolton has changed in all that time? Have you seen a lot of change just in the surroundings here?
Yeah, the areas have changed. I mean, we were on Bradshaw Gate originally, and we've moved here because it's a better site. And then recently there's been this new development with the upgrade of the railway to electrification, the makeover of Bolton Station and the new bus station next to it for the interchange. And it's just about finished. It's been a bit of a problem with the roadworks and development that's been going on, but hopefully things will get better with more people coming to this end of town.
Yeah, I suppose so, because now that's pretty much on your doorstep, hopefully. I mean, that's people coming off the bus from wherever, and I suppose the first thing they're going to see is this row of shops, so fingers crossed. I mean, have you seen any increase yet? I mean, it's only been open a couple of days.
It's a bit early to say yet. A lot more people about, but it's not made that much difference yet, but early days.
Yeah, no problem. Well, best of luck with that.
Thank you.
So what would you say have been your biggest selling items?
Well, we started off as a model railway shop, but we had to diversify fairly quickly because there wasn't enough business in it. So we went into doing more on plastic kits, die-cast collectibles, and even radio control models. And for many years, that was our biggest seller, electric radio control model cars from Tamiya, especially in the 1980s. But things seem to be cyclical, they go up and down. The same with the likes of Scale Electric, up and down, and that's on a bit of a downer at the moment, unfortunately. And the radio control stuff isn't quite what it was. One of the problems I would say is nowadays youngsters are more into computers, tablets, smartphones, virtual reality. So I would say the customer base is more adult, especially, shall we say, adult gentlemen of a certain age.
Right, yes, when they've reached that point where they've got more disposable income.
That's right. They've got, the families have grown and gone, they've got spare room, and they're doing things that they couldn't do when they were younger because they didn't have the space, the money, and so on. So they have the model railways. I
mean, do you see that in some respects as perhaps being a little bit worrying that there's no new people being drawn into the hobby? Or
it is a little bit, because you get the families coming in with the youngsters and they go for the Thomas the Tank Engine. They don't always stay, and it's how to encourage them to stay in model railways. The younger ones do tend to like the modern rolling stock, diesel and electric, but adults tend to be more classic steam.
Yeah, I think in some respects it's about what people see when they actually travel by train, I suppose. So
Yes.
I know in my case, when I grew up, I never saw steam. So for me, rail blue diesels were always the thing that interested me, because that's what I remember seeing when I was younger and very impressionable. So I suppose it goes without saying that people now, they'll see EWS and DRS 66s and Class 70s and that, and that's what they want the models of, I suppose.
Yes.
So you found that the difference between the regular railroad range in the Hornby and the super detail range, do you find that there's strengths and weaknesses between those two?
Yes, absolutely. People on the budget will go for railroad because of the price. There's nothing wrong with it. It really, really is good quality. Just a bit less detailed. And that tends to be for youngsters as well, because it's not as well detailed. It's a bit stronger. The bits don't break off the super detailed bits, so it's great for youngsters.
Right. So basically, just it withstands a lot more handling.
Heavy handling. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right.
But do you find that sometimes there's a problem that people will look at the super detail model and the railroad model of a similar locomotive and not see why there's a difference between them?
There is that. They just see the price. You explain the detail, the paint job, the moulding and so on, the lining, but they don't appreciate it. It's just a toy train to a lot of people.
Yeah, I suppose unless you know what you're looking for,
yes,
they look the same.
The enthusiast can see the difference.
Yeah, very much so.
The model collector.
What would you say is the most important philosophy in business for yourself?
Now then, how long have you got?
This is sort of like the peek behind the curtain, the magic secret of, 40 years in business. You must be doing something right. So what would you say has worked the best for yourself?
Well, you've got to keep the customer happy. Give them what they want at the price they want to pay, and the service as well. And it seems to have worked. And having the stock, obviously.
Yeah, I suppose that if you don't have it in the shop, you can't sell it. And people kind of want it there and then. I mean, do you find that the people, if it's not there, they'll say, well, I'll come back next week, and then never do so?
There is that, but the people still will order items. Not everybody wants to go through the internet. A lot of people don't trust it. Also, they like to see something before they buy it, not just a picture. Yeah.
I mean, certainly I've had with the box opening and review videos that I do, a lot of people will watch those because they want to see a more in-depth view of an item before they consider buying it, because it's something that the internet struggles to provide.
Yes, I'd agree with that.
How do you think the market's changing in terms of introduction of new players to the market, like Oxford Rail and DJ models? Has that changed the game at all, or is it just a case of having more choice is helpful?
I think it's helpful. Competition is always helpful, and it lifts standards as well. On Oxford Rail, like you just mentioned, the product is absolutely superb, and just that little bit cheaper, a little bit better value than perhaps Bachmann and Hornby. Although they are the main players, there are quite a few other makers in it now. But there's only so much money to go around with customers, and they're more discerning about what they buy. They don't just buy what they see, they'll think about it, they'll look at the alternatives and so on.
So did you find that if you've got items which are perhaps a more favourable price, people are more likely to buy than to sort of and ah and think about perhaps coming back later?
Price is very important to most people. Everybody wants a good deal.
Right. So are you finding that with things like Oxford Rail that you're selling more than perhaps you were doing with Bachmann or Hornby?
Not yet, because they haven't got a big enough range, but I'm sure they're getting there. And they tend to do models which other companies don't do, although you do get some duplication.
And how big an importance do you find that people place on brand recognition? I mean, do you find that people come in and they tend to prefer to go for brands that they know, or are they quite open to?
There is a lot of that, because Hornby is the brand leader without a doubt. And I must admit, in the past, the customers are coming for the Hornby something or other, and then you'll show them, say, a Bachmann alternative, and they'll look at you as if to say, well, I've never heard of it, what's that all about? And you have to try and encourage them and convince them that it's just as good, if not better, and sometimes at a better price.
Right. I mean, but are you finding that brand recognition is starting to increase, or is it? Are you always working against people saying, "Oh, well, I've heard of Hornby"?
There is still a lot of that about it. It's a very important brand name, definitely. But the people who are into model railways do know about other brands, other makes.
Where do you see the model railway hobby going over, say, the next 5 years, or even the next 10 years? I mean, are there any trends that you're seeing appearing?
Well, the thing that would worry me is there's still not enough new people coming into it. I mean, they've moved on with the technology, with digital and that sort of thing, but there's still a lot of analogue out there. You know, there are people that prefer the simpler stuff, the traditional. Although digital is quite simple, but it's more expensive. And if you've only got space for small layout, it's not absolutely necessary.
Yeah. I mean, are you finding that as people have less space at home, that also dictates the sort of things that they buy?
Yes, if they haven't got space, we will always recommend going for Engage, which takes up a quarter of the space. But it's not really much cheaper, but you do save on space. And the other disadvantage with Engage is there's less choice.
Right. So how are you finding the introduction by manufacturers such as Helgen and Bachmann of a narrow gauge range with the 009?
Well, that's definitely taking off. It's been around a long time, but it's always been the European scales, HOE, which works with 00 anyway. But at last we've got somebody doing proper 009 with the 00 scale. And Pico have gone into it with their rolling stock and they've improved their track range. But it all complements one another, the Bachmann and the Helgen, and they're absolutely beautiful models. They're not cheap, but the quality is absolutely superb. And there's some good starter sets now. For example, Roco, you can get a complete starter set with a loco, an oval of track, controller transformer, and a couple of wagons for just over £100, which is absolutely superb.
So actually, it's quite a good introduction for anybody wanting to start out in the hobby, because you've got the double whammy of not too expensive, but also presumably because it's narrow gauge, it takes up a lot less space.
Exactly, and there's loads of 00 scale accessories that will work with it, from buildings to vehicles and of course scenery.
That's brilliant. So what people really want to know is when are your opening times?
Well, we do 6 days a week, Monday to Saturday, 9:30 till 5:30. We're not open on Sundays anymore,
right?
But we don't close for lunch.
Right, no problem. And also methods of payment. Can people pay by card, by check?
Yeah, we have credit cards, debit cards. We have PayPal as well because we're on the internet.
And also, you mentioned the website. Have you got a web address for that?
Yeah, it's www.boltonmodelmart.co.uk and also BMM Racing.
Right.
But the website's in the process of being upgraded at the moment, and we have an eBay shop as well.
Oh, right. And what username do you trade under on eBay?
It's BMM Racing.
Right, no problem. And I take it on your website, are people able to order stuff, buy stuff straight off there?
They are, yes.
Right, no problem, that's great. Thanks very much, Phil. It's good to talk to you. And
you, thank you for the interview, or whatever we call it.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you very much for taking the time out from your day to do this. And
you're welcome. Anytime.
Brilliant, thank you. Anyway, it's been great talking to Phil here down at the Bolton Model Mart in Bolton. And if this video has been informative to you, don't forget to like it, share it too, and also subscribe to the channel if you've not already done so. And you can have a look through there, and we've got all sorts of stuff in the back catalogue. And thanks again for watching this. Anyway, this is me, Jenny Kirk, saying until next time, you take very good care of yourself. Today's video has been brought to you by my books, Bringing Home the Stars, Twinkle Little Star, and also you can get the complete comic collections of All Over the House, Books 1, Books 2, and also the wacky zany Life of Knob T Mouse. Thanks, and catch you later.